Welcome to SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST Edupedia. Myself, Assistant Professor Sunil Shah. Today I will be covering up the topic called Notice in Newspaper for the Postponement of Annual General Meeting, that is called AGM, which is covered in SYBAF SEM 4 in the Module 3. And the subject name is Business Law. As I told you, we are covering up the specimen notice to be given in the newspaper related to postponement of annual general meeting. The postponement of annual general meeting may be any of the reasons which are been valid in the eyes of law, may be due to unseen circumstances which has been taken up, and hence the company decided to postpone the annual general meeting. Normal cases, annual general meeting is not been postponed, but due to some reason which is not controllable, the meeting has to be postponed, and for that the notice has to be given. The method of giving the content in the notice is been covered up in this particular video. The annual general meeting, as known as AGM, is yearly gathering of the company's interested shareholder. At an AGM, the director of the company presents the annual report containing the information for the shareholders about the performance of the company and the strategy which has been developed by the company for the forthcoming year. What are the mandatory requirements of holding the AGM? Every company is required to hold the AGM yearly, but no such requirement is necessary in case of OPC, that is one-person company. Holding AGM in every calendar year is statutorily necessary. That means the company has to hold an AGM every year. The calendar year is from 1st Jan to December 30 and not 12 months from the date of incorporation. So the first meeting AGM can be held within 15 months because statutory meeting is compulsory, but after the completion of AGM, every year the AGM should be held. The companies that can hold AGM, every company can hold AGM, whether public or private has to hold an AGM having the share capital or not. Limited or unlimited company can hold this AGM, and except one-person company. What are the objectives of holding AGM? To protect the shareholders' interest by giving them the chance to review the company's performance, the company's strategy, the working in which the company is going on. To replace or reappoint auditors by shareholder is one of the objectives of holding the AGM. To declare the dividends proposed by the director, that means the shareholders should be aware what type of dividend they would be getting because the company is performing from the contribution what they had paid for the performance of the company. To get the approval from the shareholder for any type of work where the approval is necessary from the shareholder, mandatory requirement is to be performed during AGM. To re-elect the directors, if it is necessary, then this should be read out in the notice that we are going to reappoint the auditors as well as the directors. To discuss the special business, if it has been carried out or if the company is willing to carry on the matters that requires the approval of the shareholders as well as the board of directors. Hence, that type of special business transaction has to be called up during AGM. Notice of AGM. The company must give 21 days clear notice to the members for calling the AGM. That is the mandatory requirement as per the Companies Act 2013. The notice should mention the place, the date and the day of the meeting. If the date is mentioned, the day is to be mentioned and the place where the AGM is to be held, as well as the timing should be fixed. The hour at which the meeting should be scheduled, that has to be mentioned in the notice. The notice should also mention the business to be conducted during the AGM. So in the notice, all this aspect has to be covered up, that it would be called as complete notice. How many days advance notice should be given for the AGM? For a private company can hold the AGM by giving a notice of at least 14 days. The 14 working days that include Sundays also. As I told you in the earlier slide, this slide, 21 days is for public company, for private limited company, at least 14 days of clear-cut notice period should be given. The company's article of association may require the longer period of notice that has to be incorporated in the article of association, otherwise 14 days clear notice period should be given. Non-traded public company, a public company that is non-traded company can hold the AGM by giving 21 days notice to its members as well as the shareholders. The notice to whom it should be given? It should be given to every member of the company, legal representative of the deceased member, the person who is expired, to a legal representative, the notice has to be given. the receiver or the official assignee of the insolvent member, to whom also the notice has to be given by the company secretary. Every auditor of the company, the notice has to be given related to that they are conducting AGM, and the every director also should get the notice from the company secretary. What are the draft of the specimen of the notice in the newspaper for the postponement of the AGM? Here, if this is the particular draft which has been approved, the date has to be mentioned as DDMM YYYY, the name to whom the notice is to be given, name of the director, address of the director, and the content on which this particular notice, the specimen notice is to be drafted. Kindly note that the notice, the meeting number has to be specified, which year this particular meeting number and the year has to be mentioned, of the board of directors of the company to be held, and it's been postponed, and it will be now held at so and so date, at so and so time, at so and so venue. And these are the agenda which are to be covered up in that particular meeting, has to be mentioned in the notice. And the earlier agenda, if they are not willing to change, they should write that the agenda which was there in the earlier notice would be valid, and the same agenda would be covered up, that is remains, the earlier agenda remains unaltered, and the same will be considered for this side meeting. You are requested to make it convenient to attend the meeting. Any inconvenience caused by us because of the postponement is regretted. This particular word has to be mentioned while drafting the notice in the newspaper. Thanking you faithfully for and behalf of the company, the name of the secretary, director, the company secretary or director's name, the DIN name or the company secretary registration number is to be mentioned, and they have to write the word on an order of the board. This particular draft is mandatory. Newspaper publication, the notice of the board meeting, the logo of the company, the corporate identification number, that is CIN number, has to be mentioned, the registered office, telephone number, the website of the company is to be mentioned because it covers up each and every aspect, and this website has been registered with the company's with the register of the companies. The email ID of the company has to be mentioned. Please remember, this is the exact draft which is mandatory. Notice hereby given pursuant to the regulation of 27 and 47 of the Securities Section Board of India, listing and obligation disclosure requirement, regulation 2015, the meeting of the board of directors, the company which was scheduled to be held on so and so date, inter alia, to consider and approve the audited financial statement, standalone and the consolidated, the company for the quarter yearly, ended month and year has to be mentioned, and to recommend the dividend, if any, on the equity shares of the company for the financial year, that is to be mentioned. If you read out this paragraph, each and every point has been covered, and the above information can be viewed on the website of the company at the website address which has been mentioned here, as well as on the website of the BSE. That particular notice also has to be appear in the BSE website, that is the Bombay Stock Exchange, and also on the National Stock Exchange, that is NSE. On that particular website also this particular draft has to be mentioned. For so and so limited, the name of the directors, the designation, and these 2 points, the place and the date is mandatory. If you remember, the company's director, address, email ID, website, notice word has to be written. Notice is hereby given so and so, related to the section, related to SYBAF, and the notice has to be given in the newspapers as well as in the BSE as well as in the NSE. The date, time, and who has given the notice has to be written, signed, and been uploaded in the website. Thank you from my side. So in this particular the topic was related to the draft of the notice for the postponement of the AGM is been covered up. Thank you from my side.